Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Daily Tech News Show Live is made possible by its listeners. That's you. Thanks to all of you, including Ali Sanjabi, A.B. Puppy, Del McCahey, new patron Malcolm.
Yay! Welcome, Malcolm. We are on
a roll with.
We are. Yes.
Jinx. We're about to say the same thing.
You owe me a Coke. Yes, we've been getting a lot of patrons this week, and whether it's $1 or $100 or anything in between, boy, we are appreciative. Thanks to everybody who is along with us for the ride, and welcome to DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand all of the news a little bit better together. How are we all doing today? Rob, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Is it snowing?
It is not snowing any longer, but it's cold. It's been cold. I know that a lot of the country right now is covered in snow. Snow's regular for Ohio. We have trucks. We're good. But man, it's just cold. I think today's high is maybe 11 or 12 or something.
That is cold. Yeah. That is cold. Yeah. When we had Scott Johnson on the show yesterday, I wasn't trying to flex, but I was like, it's like 76 degrees in LA. Like, do you want like 10 degrees of my heat? And he was like, enough, Sarah. That's enough. Yeah. Roger, you and I are, we're in the same part of town, but any crazy fire or stuff that I don't know about that's closer to you?
There was a report of a fire in Griffith Park, but I think it was separate from the actual wildfires. Like someone might have had an accident or something. But you could smell it. I mean, it permeated my house for a little bit, but
yeah.
As soon as I found out what it was, I was a little less concerned.
As I look out the windows of Studio Animal House, it's kind of windy and very, very dry in LA. And I also see on the weather report that we're supposed to get rain over the weekend. So hallelujah to that.
You need that, yeah.
Yeah, we do. All right. We also need tech news. That's why we're all here. So let's start out with some quick hits.
Epic Games plans to expand its mobile app store with nearly 20 third-party games on Android worldwide and iOS in the EU, launching a free games program starting with Bloons TD6 and Dungeon for the Endless Apogee. Epic will cover Apple's core technology fee for 1 year. CEO Tim Sweeney emphasized the need to enforce the EU's Digital Markets Act, arguing for app store freedom and competition.
Android 16's first public beta is rolling out now with dynamic lock screen notifications for ride sharing and food delivery and new resizable app requirements for tablet and foldable models. Also included is a plethora of things, including support for the APV codec, better vertical text rendering, and an upgraded photo picker, haptics, and Health Connect. The beta is available for Pixel 6 and newer devices, with Android 16's full release expected in Q2 of this year.
The UK's Competition and Markets Authority is investigating Apple and Google over whether their mobile ecosystems, operating systems, app stores, and browsers violate the new Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Act, the DMCC. The CMA says it will examine strategic market status, potential anti-competitive practices, and impacts on innovation, business, and consumers.
Substack announced Thursday it launched a $20 million creator accelerator fund. So if you're a creator, you can transition your paid subscribers from another platform to Substack and supposedly keep your current revenue. That's something that a lot of people are worried about, targeting folks who make at least $2,000 per month. The fund offers financial guarantees, migration support, business strategy assistance, and early access to beta features. Applications are now open for those who are interested.
Chinese AI developer DeepSeek released DeepSeek R1, an open source reasoning model that claims better performance than OpenAI's O1 in various benchmarks. It's available under an MIT license through Hugging Face and offers commercial use with API access up to 95% lower cost than OpenAI, and also has smaller distilled versions for more accessibility. R1 comes right on the heels of ByteDance's Dubao 1.5 Pro LLM.
Yeah, the LLMs are coming for us. But Rob, let's talk a little bit more about something we discussed real briefly on the show yesterday, and that is what is going on with OpenAI and its latest partnerships.
So absolutely. As mentioned earlier this week, OpenAI, Softbank, and Oracle announced Stargate. It's a $500 billion investment initiative into building data centers for AI in the United States. The CEOs for Softbank, Oracle, and OpenAI were all present for the briefing with President Trump. Larry Ellison said that 10 data centers in Texas were already under construction. And Sam Altman said OpenAI would start deploying $100 billion in investments almost immediately. Now, Stargate supposedly should create hundreds of thousands of jobs. But there's a little bit of drama around this. The first thing is that Elon Musk, right after this was announced by President Trump, he works for President Trump now, said that OpenAI doesn't have the money. And then, of course, Sam Altman had to go back on X and say, yeah, we do. You're wrong. The bigger part of this, though, is OpenAI, up until really recently, and that's like earlier this week, their primary data center provider, their primary investor is Microsoft. And Microsoft doesn't appear to be too happy with all these announcements with Oracle and SoftBank and other people where they're going to be spending $500 billion. As I said, I did the read for this in headlines on Tuesday, and I initially misread it because I thought it said 500 million and it wasn't that big of a deal. It's like, no, that was not million with an M. It was billion right. With a B. $500 billion is what these companies are saying they're going to invest in building out this infrastructure to just take AI to the next level. So it's really interesting because, as we said, Microsoft, until literally an announcement this week, they were the sole provider of data sources for OpenAI. That is no longer the case. They have the right of first refusal. And, in earlier announcements about Project Stargate, Microsoft is involved in some way, but this is really a SoftBank, Oracle, and OpenAI thing. And I think that Microsoft definitely feels some kind of way about it.
Yeah, I mean, there a lot of eyebrows were raised about this. Like, well, wait a second. Microsoft was, I think it was mentioned in passing as like a tech partner type thing, when OpenAI and SoftBank and Oracle announced Stargate. And, a lot of people being like, well, hold on a second. Like, OpenAI and Microsoft, don't they have a real close symbiotic relationship? Don't they sort of need each other, particularly OpenAI needing Microsoft's data centers for everything that it's ramping up on? And I think that was probably true as recently as a year ago. Things have changed. Things have changed a lot. I know OpenAI has been somewhat vocal, at least in certain circles, about wanting to work with other cloud providers. Maybe not, not saying Microsoft we're breaking up, but Microsoft, let's have an open relationship. Ha ha ha. And at this point, the Stargate initiative is like you said, Rob, $500 billion, 500 million, still a lot of money to a lot of people, but we're talking billions now. $500 billion. Using the muscle that Oracle and SoftBank can provide. I think OpenAI needs this, and the company has not minced words about the fact that we did not realize that people were going to use our products as much as they're using them. We need to ramp up quicker than we thought we needed to just a couple of years ago.
This seems like the money amount is eye-watering, but there wasn't a lot of discussion about details, which is always my concern when $500 billion is earmarked or potentially earmarked for this. One of the concerns, of course, is how do you power all these new amazing data center infrastructure, right? If you don't have power for it, you might as well just put a giant anvil on an open lot because they won't do much for you. As with a lot of things in the past few days, a lot of these announcements, the devil's in the details, and it really, time will tell what exactly the money is being spent and where and in what capacity. Is it just we're going to build giant buildings to house data centers, but we won't have utilities to power them, or we'll have some sort of alternate, parallel power system separate from like the electric grid that powers everyone's homes. Who knows? And it's, I mean, honestly, this feels ripe with a lot of like sizzle. But I think when things materialize, it'll probably be a little less impressive.
That's a really good point, because you hear the number, $500 billion. Wow, they're going to be able to do so much with that kind of money. But it's like, we're talking about data centers that are physical somewhere. Okay, Larry Ellison, who runs Oracle, saying 10 data centers in Texas already under construction. Okay, well, yeah, like, how do they do they pull off some power grid that's going to affect other folks? Is it going to be a data center, which some folks who are near data centers of significant size already say, it's loud, it's making us sick, they're too bright. There are all sorts of reasons where it's like, okay, where are all these data centers being built? Sure, you got the money to do that, but how is that going to affect the general populace?
Well, like Roger said, the details on this are light. And as we said, $500 billion, that is not pocket change. That is $500 billion. That's a lot of money. So when you think about what a $500 billion investment is this is not going to all be data centers. It's going to be, they've got to build transmission lines from power plants. Yep. They've got to build power plants to use the transmission lines. I think a lot of this, probably hundreds of billions, would literally be getting power plants. And we've talked about other stories, over the past several months about, are we going to start leaning more on nuclear? Are we going to start leaning more on other types of maybe, renewable energy? We don't know, because there's no details on this. But if they're talking about $500 billion, that can't just be server rooms. Yeah. That has to be power stations and transmission. And then also, when you think about data centers that are that big, you're going to need other businesses that are going to be there to support them. I think about, I'm from a city in Ohio, where it had one of the first really, really big multifaceted GM plants was built. And it wasn't just a GM plant. There were all kind of other businesses that were built when that Lordstown plant was built back in the late 50s, early 60s, I think it was, where they just built all kind of other businesses that kind of propped an entire city up. And I think that you'll start to see that kind of thing with this. If they're building power plants and they're building wind farms and everything else that they would ultimately do to power these data centers, there's going to be other businesses that would be involved in this that are going to be part of that $500 billion. I think when they say there's hundreds of thousands of jobs that would be created by this, these aren't all people working in the data center. These are people building the data center, supporting the data center, driving trucks back and forth to the data centers, all those kind of things. So this is massive. Probably one of the reasons why President Trump, did this joint announcement. But like I said, I was kind of dumbfounded. I was like, $500 billion is what you guys are going to spend, and this is from 3 companies. That's a lot of money.
Well, and I think you make a really good point about the hundreds of thousands of jobs created. Some of those jobs are going to be, I don't know, 3 months. Some of those jobs might be, sure, I will work in the data center forever and, be paid handsomely. That would be great. But yeah, when it comes to construction and power grid stuff, this isn't necessarily, these aren't forever jobs. These are temporary jobs because you're building something.
I mean, and ultimately, again, I mean, details will need to come out, because right now we're just speculating on what they could and probably should be building out, because infrastructure needs infrastructure of its own. But I would say this, as impressive as it is, I will keep a close eye to see actually what comes out of it, because as with a lot of things that have huge dollar numbers to it, what and eventually trickles out, and at least initially might be a little less impressive than what the announcement would typically lead you to believe.
All right. Well, Roger, we do have some facts about some things that are coming and and going away. In fact, we have some deaths to mourn. This is a little sad, but what is going dark today?
Well, not going dark today, but next month, Sony will cease production of Blu-ray discs ending close to 2 decades of production. Along with ending the Blu-ray disc production, Sony will also be stopping the manufacture of mini discs, the little tiny little CD-looking things that you record music onto, for data as well, and mini DV cassettes. And if you work in broadcast, you know what mini DVs are. Mm-hmm. They go into little camcorders. Last year, Sony notified customers that it would end production of consumer grade recordable Blu-ray discs. So if you had a Blu-ray writer at home and you were buying discs from Sony, they stopped making it last year. So whatever you have is what's available from them. But this is going to be very interesting because there's a lot of people who rely on Blu-ray because, as awesome as streaming is, they like the higher fidelity that Blu-ray offers, as well as HD Blu-ray. This is not to say that Blu-ray discs go away completely, because there's still other manufacturers of the disc. Rytech, the Taiwanese manufacturers, are pretty big maker of it. But Panasonic, another one part of the Blu-ray group, ended its Blu-ray disc production in 2023. And both Sony and Panasonic have attributed it to the fact that people stream content more rather than buy it on disc. So it's going to be one of those epic shifts away from a physical format to another physical format, like your hard drive, to store this stuff. Like, what do you want to do if you want to own a movie? Do you just buy it on Amazon and hope they don't kick you off if you don't pay your Prime subscription annually?
There are lots of situations where you can buy a movie and own that file. But yeah, I mean, the Blu-ray folks, and you know who you are. Quite a few friends are like, it's just the better version of the movie. And I'm like, see, my eyes just don't care that much. But a lot of people do care. And yeah, so Panasonic pulling out of this. We talked about this back in 2023. Sony pulling out of this. Yeah, again, it turns into a enthusiast, almost like the vinyl folks, right? Where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like a little bit harder to get the kind of stuff that you want to get on this particular medium. You can still get it. And I think a lot of companies maybe not a lot of companies, some companies will crop up as a cool retro way for those who care a lot about Blu-ray to continue their enthusiasm. I did have to laugh a little bit about mini discs going away, because I used to be a mini disc enthusiast. I had a mini disc player. I loved mini discs.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize Sony was still making them. It's been a long time since anyone even mentioned a mini disc to me.
So I still have a Blu-ray player hooked up to a really, really nice 4K television. And it literally goes years in between its uses at this point. But probably in the last 6 months, just happened to be, and it's the TV that's in my bedroom. I rarely watch it, but it's happened to be laying in the bed, and it's like, oh, let's watch Avatar. So I had Avatar on Blu-ray. And it's like, oh man, that looks really, really good. So I can't notice the difference between watching Avatar on Blu-ray or streaming it if I'm not streaming it in 4K. So I know some folks are going to be bummed out about this, but as I said, I'm not an enthusiast. I probably go years in between the uses of my Blu-ray player, and I can't even remember the movie I watched before Avatar. It was probably Avatar the last time I watched Avatar, because I know that I have a Blu-ray and I know that it looks really good when I look at it.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the concerns, of course, is the whole kind of lost media angle on it. There were titles on VHS that were only on VHS, that when VHS went away and they stopped making VCRs, like, well, where do I find this now? Where do I get it? Same thing with DVDs. DVDs were a little less problematic because you could effectively rip them and throw them up on archive.org. Not to say that I suggest people do that with copyrighted or IP protected material. But when you have companies like Criterion that do special collections, not just higher quality, but they'll remaster the original source film before they digitize it and give you like a really clean copy of a popular or well-known or a foundational movie, whether it's like The Godfather, Scarface, or even something a little more sci-fi like RoboCop, where they just spend the effort. They grab extra material, they spend extra time. It becomes an enthusiast format, but at the same time, with all the other stuff, like it's weird. I still buy CDs. If I ever find, granted they're used, if I find a used CD on sale and it's something I like, I buy it. Because there's something one about the physicality too. I own it and I can rip it. I can take the tracks that I've digitized and put in different formats for what I need, but I can always go back to it if I need it.
Yeah.
And there's something about
keep more control over.
And I've bought movies off Amazon before, and some of the older ones don't play anymore. And I haven't gone through support, Amazon support to get them working again because I wasn't interested in those movies enough to do it. But it's like, well, if I bought a bunch of these and they all suddenly stopped working, then I'm going to be very upset.
So yeah, I guess you got to go out and just buy like a backup Blu-ray player to just keep one in the box.
I have 2 Blu-ray players, and if you count the my PS5, I have if you count my Xbox, I have 4. So I have 4 Blu-ray players.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the PS5 and the Xbox, both of which I have. So I lied. I said I had 1 Blu-ray player in the house. No, I got 3.
I also, Roger, you mentioned mini DV for, people who work in broadcasting, which I know exactly what that means. Why was it, in the early days, it was beta tapes, right? Like way after like the Sony Betamax fell hard to the VHS. Why, did Sony proliferated so much when it came to folks who worked in
broadcasting? Because they spent a lot of money in the broadcasting industry. Betacam SP was the standard for the longest time. I remember digitizing music videos for CNET, for their mp3.com property, to throw up music videos on the channel. And so they didn't have one in-house, so they had to buy a Betacam SP deck, and I'd plug it in and I'd run it through, and I would digitize all the video off of it. But Sony and broadcast have been synonymous, whether you're talking about Trinitron monitors, where you're talking about the Betacam SP decks, their some of their U-matic compatible field cameras, but a lot of equipment. And even still now, they made one of the first 3-chip HD studio cameras that was available on the market. And so Sony spent a lot of money, but it's very interesting because up until recently, you always had a tape copy or something, right? You'd had an archival copy, but with everything moving straight to just whether it's an SSD or a hard drive, how do you begin to archive it? Or do you just say like, we don't want to save this, so just delete it? Or do you just buy like cloud space on Backblaze?
That's a great question. I mean, I've got I don't know, 4 full boxes of mini DV tapes in the closet behind me. I always talk about the closet behind me. It really does exist. And, I'm like, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm not going to put it in the trash, but yes, there's an archival person who I could probably hire to go through it, or I could do it myself, I guess, fun weekend project. But yeah, it's I think for a lot of people, it's like the physical media aspect of things. And I am one of those people. It's like, I don't want it anymore. I don't have 1 music CD in my house anymore. At some point, I was just like, donate them. It's fine. I can get them on Apple Music or somewhere else. And if I can't, then I don't want it that bad. But when it comes to a lot of archival stuff that is personal to you, or like it doesn't exist anymore, it would be really hard to find otherwise, then yeah, the physical media is something that a lot of people want to hold on to. Well, if you have feedback about anything that we talk about on our show, maybe you're like, mini DV's still alive and well, let's talk about it. Get in touch with us on the DTNS, the DTNS audience, on our socials. At DTNS Show on X, on Instagram, and on Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. That's mstdns.social. And on TikTok and YouTube, you can find us at Daily Tech News Show. Wired reported that back in November, 2 security researchers, Sam Curry and Shubham Shah, found vulnerabilities in a Subaru web portal that were pretty significant. Let them take over car controls and track driver location data. On his own blog, Curry published how he was able to exploit the vulnerability, exposing millions of Subaru cars to remote tracking, unlocking, and starting, with a full year of precise location history also accessible. Curry says he could bypass weak protections in an employee-facing app, and this is actually, where it gets tricky here, including insecure password resets and a client-side 2FA that helped him force the issues. Subaru fixed the flaw after Curry's report, and as far as we know, this was not something that anybody took advantage of in the wild for nefarious reasons, but the implications pretty deep. This is from Curry on his notes on his own blog, which we have in our show notes here. Starlink connected vehicle service for Subarus gave us unrestricted targeted access to all vehicles and customer accounts in the US, Canada, and Japan. So that's a big deal. An attacker who only knew the victim's last name and zip code or email address or phone number or license plate could have done the following. Number 1, remotely start, stop, lock, unlock, and retrieve the current location of any vehicle. Number 2, retrieve any vehicle's complete location history from the past year, accurate to within 5 meters, and updated each time the engine starts. Number 3, query and retrieve the personally identifiable information of any customer, including emergency contacts, authorized users, physical address, billing information, like the last 4 digits of a credit card, excluding full card numbers, but also vehicle PINs, and accessing miscellaneous user data like support call history, previous owners, odometer readings, sales histories, and more. Now, some of the stuff you might say like, well, if you're not a criminal, I mean, how many people want to do this? You know who wants to do this? An insurance company. An insurance company really wants this information. That was where my head went first. But otherwise, yeah. Again, Subaru says the flaw is fixed, but this is a really great reminder that when you are working with companies that aren't totally secure, then you are perhaps really, really insecure.
My initial thought on this, being in Columbus, Ohio, we had this thing here called the Kia Boys, where the Kia cars were just Kia and Hyundai were just being stolen left and right. So glad that this wasn't on those cars, because I can see how this, your first thought was insurance company. My first thought is this is probably where they work, because they stop there for 7-8 hours at a time. That's a good spot to go get this car. If you are of the Kia boy mindset and you're trying to to jack people's rides. I'm listening to all the things, Sarah, that you read through as to what they were able to get. Basically, you just said they got everything. They were literally able to get everything about your car that was digitally stored.
Save from like driving your car away, never to be found again. You kind of have pretty much all of my other information that I, as a driver of one of these cars, would be providing.
I would also add maybe overly enthusiastic law enforcement who might be fishing, but just needed to see who's been around this location, especially since some states have implemented very strict measures about assisting individuals with medical procedures that are not allowed in that state. They could use that to prosecute you because they can see your car drove to the border of this state where this individual was found. And so it opens up a lot of a big legal can of worms, because suddenly it's no longer, hey, we're putting on this information. We could build a better profile, get you better gas mileage. We can set you up for your next, oil change. We'll have it already, into something a little more foreboding, because, I mean, one is the information, the information that they collected. 2 was how insecurely it was stored that you could access it through a web portal. Very much that security needs to be one of the foundational things that you build alongside a product. It's not an afterthought. It's not like, hey, I built this amazing car with all these amazing connected features. We should make it secure. Why don't we go hire that, that B team down the street to build us something, and we'll be set for a new flow of customers. I don't know. This whole thing feels like it was both sloppy, poorly thought out, and totally avoidable. If someone just started out the process, say, we're going to collect this information, we need ways to secure it.
Clinton Woodward in our chat says, my car still requires you to push the start button before you can drive it away, even if you start it remotely. So I'm assuming the check for the key fob is still happening, even if remote started. Clinton, my car is the same way. I can start my car in my driveway from here with my smartphone, but I can't, somebody can't just be like, oh, the car's started, I'll drive it away. No, yeah, I have to have my keys with me, and once I get in the car, I have to be like, yes, I'm here. All right, yes, I'm the person. It feels pretty secure, but this did get me thinking. In general, some of the smarter and newer cars that have these companion apps that can help you do all sorts of stuff, like, in the winter, if I'm in a cold place, starting the car, heating the seats a couple minutes before I get in the car, that's a fun luxury. I love that. But if somebody can do that and then do something else with my car, it's like, if you can start my car but you can't drive it away, I don't really know, what you're getting out of it. But if you know where I've been within 5 meters, and maybe I did something illegal. Of course I wouldn't, but let's just say in a different universe, maybe I went somewhere that nobody knew about. This is all, again, going back to your point, Roger, about law enforcement. This is all stuff where if privacy and security is not tamped down, then it's a Wild West situation.
And I would argue Subaru shouldn't be holding this information anyway. It should be some way up to the user to hold and collect. So Rob, your Subaru, that data it's collected is only stored with whatever means you authorize, and only you have access to. It's there's legal implications, there's the huge ethical ones, but at the same time, it's like, you get all this information, you can't even spend the extra money to make sure that, someone with all this information that if you collate it from people's mail, you could figure it out, could easily access. The whole thing bugs me because it's something that shouldn't have happened, and it seems so obvious.
And see, here's the thing: when it comes to security, companies have to be right every time. Hackers only have to be right once. So because of that, because that's the dynamic of things being secure. It's, you can't look at things at, well, if we get hacked, this will happen. It's like, no, when you get hacked, this is how you're going to move through the situation that you're in. But I think we're to a point now to where when you are collecting this data, that is sensitive data, you have to have someone, you got to get a CISO in place. You need to have people whose job it is to figure out how to hack and break stuff, to think of things you never anticipated, because that's what the hackers are doing. I don't imagine that Subaru purposely built this system to be as insecure as it is, but by the nature of the fact that they probably didn't think about security first and go out and get, put a team in place whose job was to poke holes in everything that was happening, this is what you get. So that is just a ploy for companies. If you are building stuff and you're collecting personal data, you have to think about it from a security first standpoint, not what do we do after something bad happens?
Yeah.
Or just don't, and if it's something too insurmountable, just don't offer these features. I mean, it's like I'm perfectly happy with getting a dumb car that's not connected, and I don't have to worry if they take my car.
I think a lot of people, they buy the newer cars awesome, because they're like, we want the fun stuff, we want remote start type thing.
I mean, all that can be done easily aftermarket with someone else. It doesn't have to be. It can,
but okay. So I'll tell you this. I was in a parking garage yesterday, and it was busy, and I just parked where I could. I was kind of like late to an appointment type thing. And I forgot where my car was when I came back to the parking garage, and I was like, I got to go home and do DTNS. And my Volvo app was like, here's your car. Very helpful. Very helpful. Yes, I could do something aftermarket, but that is where, this sort of thing comes in handy, and people like that
could you
kind of
just
stuff.
slip an AirTag underneath your car seat and then you'd be set the same way?
Yeah.
See me, I'd forget that I put the AirTag there, and then we get the notification that the AirTag is basically following me. Then I would disable it from my phone, forgetting that I had actually put the AirTag in the car in the first place.
Right.
That's the world that I live in.
Oh boy. All right. So we talked a little bit about OpenAI and its new handshake agreement with Oracle and Softbank, to the chagrin of Microsoft. But OpenAI has been very busy. In fact, just today, Thursday, it's launching a research preview of something called Operator. That's an AI agent that can interact with the web using a built-in browser to perform tasks like typing or clicking for you or scrolling for you. We've talked about agents before. OpenAI is not reinventing the wheel here, but initially on OpenAI's side, it's available to US-based ChatGPT Pro subscribers. That means somebody who pays $200 a month. Operator combines GPT-4's vision capabilities with advanced reasoning to navigate GUIs and perform web actions without needing API integration. So that part is interesting. It's designed to refuse harmful requests. It's designed to seek user approval for sensitive actions. So if I say, hey, operator, do this for me, and it says, I don't know about that. This might be a little sensitive. Maybe a human should get back into play. It's supposed to do that. It's also still limited in handling some more complex interfaces. It's going to rely on user input when needed. The company is collaborating with companies like DoorDash, Uber, StubHub, places that you would kind of want an agent in general to address practical use cases. And OpenAI plans to expand Operator's availability and integrate it into ChatGPT in the future. That part is not surprising. But Rob, I know you were following the story a bit this morning. And Sam Altman and a variety of folks on the OpenAI team had a really interesting stream that I watched on YouTube about how this all works. It all sounds pretty great, but kind of limited.
It's pretty limited now. This is day one of this, but I read this story right after I got back from Jimmy John's getting lunch this afternoon. And I remember going into the Jimmy John's app, and it's like all I did was just reorder the exact same Hunter's Club sandwich that I got the last time that I went to Jimmy John's. And then I read this story, and it's like, you know what? That would have been kind of cool if I could have just said, hey, keyword, go reorder the last thing I got from Jimmy John's and let me know when it's ready. That's what this stuff is going to be able to do. And that's pretty cool. And if we just think about where we are with AI, we are just over 2 years and 2 months into the AI craze that we're currently in right now. This is day one. So where will this be in 6 months? Where will it be in a year? Where will it be in 2 years? What will we be able to do with a ChatGPT where we can just say, hey, ChatGPT, I need to go to Mexico Thursday. Go find me the cheapest flights and book it for me. And then it just does it. That's where I see this technology right now, helping people out. And I can't even imagine what it'll be doing in a year's time.
I will say this looks cool and is super awesome, and I will use it when the model is local to my PC or laptop or whatever, because I'm not sure if I want, as amazing this is, I mean, everything's still running off ChatGPT server, so it's going to be looking at your screen. So it's gonna remember certain aspects of things. And if people have issues with Windows 11 recall, I don't know if this is going to sound any better, as convenient as it sounds. I don't know. I don't even like having, my wife last year asked, like, why don't we just get a housekeeper to come in and clean the house? It's like, no one comes in the house unless it's one approved by me, but someone I know. Like, I don't want perfect strangers. It's just, there's an aspect to it that I find very insecure. And
people have
totally
various levels of
that
privacy. That's very fair.
Like, what if it's Social Security for, like, oh, I need you to pay my phone bill. use the regular credit card and it's punching in all your credit card information. It's like, well, I don't know. It just seems, it as cool as it sounds, I cannot get over there's a security flaw in here that's staring me right in the face, and I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with it.
I mean, yeah, go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, I'm with you, Roger, on the security. And I would imagine that a lot of our listeners are probably with you on the security as well. But my gut tells me, if you think back to the Microsoft stuff, where they had the issue, it wasn't regular people that were up in arms about it. It was companies who were up in arms about it, as they should be. And then that kind of bled over into everybody else. My gut tells me is that if this makes life easier for regular folks, although they may be somewhat more security conscious today than they were maybe 10 years ago, it doesn't work. My credit cards, if it's a credit card, if it's my bank account's FDI insured, I have protections there. If I'm already using, if I'm already using PayPal, if I'm already using these other apps, those things store the information. Why would I be worried about this app that does something similar, storing that information? So I hear that and I understand those security concerns, but my gut tells me that the utility of this would supersede people's angst against, I'm giving you a lot of data that you can do a lot of, dangerous things with.
I mean, with PayPal, I actually have a very separate, isolated checking account that I use with PayPal, nothing else. So if PayPal decides to get a little withdrawal happy one day, there's nothing for that to withdraw because no other money goes into it except what I put in directly, from my bank into that account and then to PayPal. It's very involved. And it's very it seems a lot of extra steps, Roger, but I don't know. I have a paranoia. I do not like systems where companies can deduct your monthly mortgage straight from your checking account. I actually set it up the other way. I set it up so my checking account automatically pays this account with this number on this date. It takes a little longer. It's not as snappy and I don't get a response as quickly, but I control when the money goes out. Not the company that's demanding payment. And so I've been in a situation where I think I've mentioned this before. I've been at two companies where payroll information has been stolen. And so I have both I think it's a McAfee as well as what's the other, Equifax accounts, because they both check them, because I've been in a situation where all my information's been basically cribbed. And I don't know. I could just be super paranoid. I'm probably just paranoid.
Well, it turns it, and I think this is some folks in chat are equating this to sort of the smart home thing. It's like, how much convenience is worth it? How much do you want to just be like, yeah, it all just sort of works until it doesn't, or until, someone understands when I'm home and not, based on my lights being on and off, and or can get access to my money because these systems are not as ironclad as they should be. I think that's kind of the big thing is, do you want to do this yourself? Do you want someone else to do it for you? Do you want the housekeeper to come into your house and you feel uncomfortable about that? Do you want to do it yourself? Yeah. I mean, time is money, right? So it's a. And
I will add,
everyone's different.
If they can have this functionality, but the general or the LLM or whatever model they use resides locally on your PC or on the corporate network if it's corporate task, so that the security and management is in your hands and not up to them.
Indeed. All right, we've got a couple mailbags, so let's check them now. Over on Patreon, Anon Jr. had some thoughts on our mailbag from yesterday's discussion around Book It. We actually started the discussion on Tuesday, and school fundraisers in general. Like, what are kids selling when they want to make money for school fundraisers? Anon Jr. says, at my high school, most of the sports teams and clubs sold chocolate bars as a fundraiser. One of my friends on the debate team did something amazing by putting up a sign that said, sale, 2 for $2. The bars were $1 a piece. Not my first look at how the word sale changes behavior, but definitely one that stuck out with me.
That's kind of awesome.
That is kind of awesome.
That's kind of awesome. It's like, because you're not lying. It's like, hey, I'm selling these for $2 for $2. That's exactly what the price is.
Or people go, ooh, sale. Ooh,
I will
get it
remember
now.
I remember selling those king-sized Kit Kat, or not Kit Kat, Reese's Buttercup or Peanut Butter Cup. Those things sold itself. I just left the box open in the classroom, and people would just dump their money and take a candy bar out.
I had forgotten about the chocolate bar. I think ours were like chocolate bars that had peanuts in the middle type thing, and
Snickers.
No, they weren't Snickers. No, it was like a school chocolate bar type thing. It was some brand that you never would see anywhere else.
Yeah, like a knockoff Hershey bar or something like that.
Yeah, and inevitably there would always be like somebody who was like, "You want this last bar? I'm not going to sell it," And so like the rest of us would just be like, "Yay, chocolate!" Yeah.
So Joshua also emailed us about this. Listening, and he writes, listening to y'all talk about school fundraisers and prizes, you reminded me of my daughter's Girl Scout cookie sales rewards. Most of the small sales goals were cheap stuff, but she sold enough boxes of cookies between individual sales and cookies at Booth and Walmart and Meijer and places like that she earned and received a Nintendo Switch OLED. I don't remember being able to earn anything that expensive when I was in school, nor do I. It was like a Boy's Life magazine. It's about the best that I got. In regards to it, book it. We had it at the county school I went to in Central Indiana. Now, granted, I'm a few years younger than Tom and Scott, born in '83. I love the book program. It was getting pizza certificates every other week.
Dang.
So,
man, I was born too early. I mean,
did I say older? I meant to say younger if I said older. I can't remember what I said.
Born in '83. That's a whippersnapper to me.
Yeah. That's I was old enough to babysit that person when they were born.
I mean, I
was pride babysitting age at 83.
I would have. I don't know. I would have read. I was reading books anyway. It's like give me a book. Like it's done. Over a weekend, if not sooner. So if I can also get a pizza for that. Boy, I would have loved this. This was not something that happened at my school. And if it did, I am angry to everyone in positions of authority who didn't tell me about it.
Yeah, I am thinking about how many boxes of Girl Scout cookies do you have to sell to get an OLED Switch? That's not insignificant because the prices usually are kind of janky. So, that just must be a really, really good salesperson. But folks, during the show, you've been submitting titles, for the show. Do we have any of those up yet?
Yes, we have several right now. What I love is Stealth Dave's an OpenAI relationship. We have Fred 819's Blu-ray Requiem. Mm-hmm. A lot of AI sizzle from JPEG 84, Death to Physical Digital Media, Technomensch, Drive Hacking from 819, and honestly, Stealth Dave ran away with it with an OpenAI relationship, and that's what we picked.
Did we? All right. Okay. Well, awesome. Good stuff. Yes, thanks to everybody for submitting and voting. This is the fun part of the show. Yes, let's not forget honorable mention to Fred 819 with Drive Hacking, because that is what people do if Subaru doesn't get its act together. Remember, if you have comments on anything that we talk about and you say, I've got a story, I've got a fun anecdote, I have a question about anything that we talk about on the show, send it our way. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Well, before we thank some of the folks who give us raises, Roger and Rob, anything going on this weekend? I know it's only Thursday, but I'm looking forward to the weekend.
I'm looking forward to a haircut. I miss my haircut.
Which you do weekly.
Not weekly, like every 10 days. So like I usually go Saturday, Saturday, Wednesday, but because of travel and stuff like that, I'm like a week overdue on my haircut. So I cannot wait to get that done.
You're ready.
And I know you guys talked about this on yesterday's show, but I ordered my Galaxy S25 Ultra.
Did you?
Cannot wait.
You went with the Ultra.
This is the first time that I've actually done a first day pre-order to where I'm going to get it on the first day. I usually just wait until they're in the Verizon store and just go pick one up. I've never had a problem with that, but I said, you know what? I want it as soon as I possibly can get it. So I went ahead and did the pre-order on the Samsung site, and they offer like ridiculous discounts. So I was thinking I have an S22. I was thinking I was going to have to turn that in to get like a good discount. They were literally giving you up to $1,000 off on pretty much any Samsung phone that you have. So I went out and found like an old Galaxy A20 that I know I did not pay $900 for, but I got a $900 discount.
So wait,
for a phone.
Any Galaxy, so it doesn't matter how old.
It didn't matter how old. It went all the way back. I got
two right here from like 10 years ago.
Yeah. So it went all the way back to Galaxy S3. That's how far back I was able to find. So yeah, the deals are pretty good. That was specifically for Verizon. I think, other carriers may have other deals, but for Verizon, I was able to get $1,000 for a Galaxy A20 that I know that I didn't pay more than $250 for.
Wow. That is good value.
Yeah, it was that's why I mentioned it. The deals are great. They're darn near giving these things away.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I really do want to upgrade my phone, but I just bought it last year. I feel duty bound or obliged to at least use it for 2.5+ years to feel that I've worn it out, that I can excuse myself to get a new phone.
This is the longest I've ever gone. I've gone 2 years once before, but I've gone 3 years on not getting a new phone. And back in the day, I was getting like a phone or two every quarter. Well, BlackBerry, that's different. We'll take BlackBerry out. But there was a time when I was getting a phone at least one a year, but I was getting probably more like, a phone every 8 months because something new would come out. Oh, I want that phone. And I would just go out and get it. So
yeah. The only reason why I've been upgrading my phones is one, I broke it, or my daughter took it into the bathtub with her, or I can't do any security updates. That's like my biggest reason. Mm-hmm. I cannot update it anymore for security updates, and so it's like, well, it's insecure, and I do a lot of sensitive stuff on my phone. I need to upgrade now.
Yeah.
It's very
I mean, in the phone upgrade arena, and Eileen and I talk about this on Apple Vision Show all the time. It's like she got the 16, I had the 15 Pro Max, and I mean, it's there's nothing wrong with it. I wasn't gonna upgrade. If it was a whole different phone that did my laundry for me, let's talk. But no. I usually it used to be every year without fail. And at some point I was like, and maybe because the updates became more incremental, and maybe my my pocketbook got a little thinner, but now I'm like, I'll take it as long as I can until I really, really need something.
Yeah, I mean, like I have a bunch of old phones just lying around that I can't use anymore because they're no longer supported. I mean, they turn on and all that, but they don't have any more updates. So
yeah,
I don't know. It seems like a waste. I also have that inbuilt thing of I hate waste, and then I just see a bunch of old phones just sitting there gathering dust in the corner. It bugs me. But what doesn't bug me is the awesome support we're getting from our viewers, both on YouTube, on Twitch, and then on Patreon. I want to give a shout out to Laminar Rainbow and C-Spawn for both giving us super chats on YouTube.
Thank you.
Great. I want to give a shout out to Keeper Minnesota, who resubscribed for 42 months at tier 1. Zoa Brings Bacon, who cheered us on with bits. Lion Jim Video, who gigantified with an emote. Used 30 bits for that. Howard Yermish, and who resubscribed for 12 months at tier 1, and Lion Jim Video, who also resubscribed for 6 months at tier 1. Thank you, one and all. And a special, we do not have any Patreon raises today, but thank you for the ones you gave us yesterday, and awesome for all the support that people have been giving us time and time again. We could not do this show without your help.
That is true. Well said, Roger.
We applaud you.
We applaud you, and we do the show for you. So we're all in this together. If you're in need of maybe a new coffee mug, or you like stickers, or you just want a little bit more of DTNS in your home. By the way, the stickers of Tom and Roger I keep with me at all times.
Aw.
You know, just they're my little pocket buddies. You know, when we're not doing the show, because I just simply can't get away from either of you.
Pocket protectors. We could totally do a
pocket protectors. Yes,
Oh.
I know. If you have ideas of like merch that you want, we would love to hear about it. I have my own sticker on my laptop in the other room, so I can't show you right now. But I've had more than one person be like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's a sticker of me on my own laptop. Yep, that's the person that I am. But if you are interested in having any DTNS merch for yourself, we have a lot of good stuff. You know, we got clothing, we got mugs, we got stickers. Check it out at our store, dailytechnewsshow.com/store. Just a reminder, we do this show every day, Monday through Friday. You can watch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 2100 UTC. We are back tomorrow with Len Peralta, drawing the top tech stories. You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Hope to see you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Goodbye, Discord.
Bye,
Bye,
Thank you,
Discord.
Discord.